I get lots of questions from my subscribers, and I really enjoy having back and forth discussions. Sometimes I receive similar questions from multiple different viewers asking my opinion on certain topics. When these questions require a more in-depth response, I find it useful to make a quick video to address them. In this particular video is my opinion on Bix Weir's claim that there are millions of tons of secret gold guarded by the U.S. military in the Grand Canyon. I'd like to start off by saying that I'm by no means criticizing my viewers for asking the question. After all, who has the time and knowledge to thoroughly inspect all of the claims that are floating out there? Frankly, that's the reason why a lot of wild theories spread. And if there were millions of tons of secret gold out there, I'm sure it would be a concern for those who save their wealth in gold. So I'm more than happy to put this video out. Besides, it will give me a convenient link to copy and paste next time I get the question. So let's examine the article that Bix Weir uses as the centerpiece of his theory. This is a June 1912 article that appeared in the New York Times newspaper concerning the subject. It's an article that discusses a gold find in Lee's Ferry and quotes at length a Mr. Watson, who is an agent of a Chicago firm that's trying to drum up business in selling shares of the concern. Now let me remind you of what's been said before about selling shares of a mining operation. The Detroit Free Press once said in 1881 that a mine is a hole in the ground. The discoverer of it is a natural liar. The hole in the ground and the liar combine and issue shares to trap fools. With that in mind to communicate what I think of the article, let's continue. So the article says, F.D. Watson, who has been conducting operations for the Chicago concern, aha! We should now know all that we really need to know at this point, but let's continue, has come out of Lee's Ferry to report to his principals and make further arrangements to carry on the work. That means he's asking them for more money. He declares that when the whole field has been developed, the supply of gold in the world will have been increased by billions. Well, okay, but billions of what? I think Bix Weir assumes that this meant billions of ounces, because that's what he said in more than one of his interviews on the subject. Let's continue down the article and see what it says. Further down, F.D. Watson goes on to say, at Lee's Ferry are mountainous deposits of marl silts that contain the wealth. Surmounting these is a sort of capstone formation that contains equal values. These harder formations, however, are a little more difficult of treatment. Underneath this stony cap is the softer silt that practically melts like sugar under the hydraulic treatment. Experimentation and tests, repeated and rechecked 1,000 times over. Really? 1,000? These must have been pretty cheap tests. Have demonstrated conclusively that the soft silt contains 50 cents per yard in gold with a little silver, and strange as it may seem, considerable quicksilver. Exposed to sight are billions of yards of this silt containing more billions of dollars in wealth of precious metal than the human mind can possibly grasp in computation. Wow. Sounds like this guy is really selling something. I think I can stop there for the sake of making this a shorter video. Let's just focus on two of the things that the geologist said. I've underlined them here in blue. So he said that the silt contained 50 cents of gold per yard. Well, this must have been a good number. After all, the tests were conducted 1,000 times. But what does this tell us about the grade of gold? At $20.65 per ounce, which was the price of gold in 1912, this would equate to 0.024 ounces per cubic yard of silt, which would be 0.78 grams of gold per cubic yard. Considering the normal density of silt, this would be about 0.5 grams of gold per metric ton. Back in 1912, they didn't have the giant earth movers and state-of-the-art mining techniques that we do today. According to the World Gold Council, the poorest grade open-pit mines in the world today operate at about 1 gram of gold per ton. So I have to seriously doubt if a bunch of guys with mules and shovels would be able to mine this concern back then economically. Frankly, I don't think it would be economic now. It would still be easier than harvesting gold from the oceans or from some giant gold asteroid in space, but probably not economic. But even if we did consider all of this gold to be economic to harvest, how much gold are we talking about? Mr. F.D. Watson said that there were billions of dollars worth of gold. I'm sure he was exaggerating a little bit to raise the money that he needed, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that there was $1 billion worth of gold at the time. At $20.65 per ounce, this would work out to be about 1,500 metric tons. Certainly nothing to sneeze at, but not quite the millions of tons that Bix Weir is claiming is under guard in the Grand Canyon. So, without citing further evidence, let me just say that I do not believe Mr. Weir. It bothers me a little that there are so many wild stories out there, but as I've said, I don't blame the people who believe them. Who has the time to dig into the details? But this does highlight the fact that you really need to be careful out there in YouTube land what you take in and believe is fact. There really is a lot of misinformation out there. Be careful.